put my phone on mute. Well, it's not so nice today, is it? It's awful.
I know. Right, it looks like we've got people joining us now.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's raining, raining pretty hard in Worcester.
It's not raining here yet. Must be on its way. I can see the clouds.
Good morning, all. Just to check a couple of the functions whilst you're all logging on. If you could just pop something in the chat and just let us know where you're joining us from today and if it's raining where you are as well. Oh, there we go. Rainy Lysington, Worcestershire. It's coming your way then, Colin.
Yeah, looks like I can look out the window. Looks like it.
Oh, Alan, I can see that your hand's raised. I don't know if that's because you want to pop something in the chat, maybe? Oh, sun shining in Redditch.
Oh, good grief. Not for long
Definitely
now.
coming your way then. It's coming from Lysington through Worcester to Droitwich to Redditch. So yes, for anyone that's just joined us, just finding out where you're from today. So if you could pop it in the chat, just where you're from and if it's raining where you are. The weather's taken a turn this week for us. Oh, just waving. Right, what we'll do is we'll give it a few minutes just to let everybody log on. Look like people are joining us now. See what the time. Ah, yeah, 10:01. We got here. Birmingham and currently sunny but chilly.
Yeah.
It's just us in the, well, just me and Stacey in the rain then, by the looks of it so far.
It's just arrived in Droitwich.
Oh, has it? Oh, watch out, Redditch.
It's on its way.
It'll be half an hour. Okay. So for anyone that's just joined us, we're just finding out a little bit about where everyone's joining us from today. So if you could just pop in the chat where you're joining us from, and whether it's raining, sunny, windy, chilly, where you are. We have had a couple of apologies today for people that wanted to attend but couldn't. So just to let you know that we are recording the session and we will be making this available on our website afterwards. So if you wanted to watch it again or pass it over to any colleagues, then that will be possible, and anyone that's registered for the event will receive a link to that in a couple of days' time. So again, just so that we could check the chat function, if you just want to pop in there where you are today, where you're located today, and if it's raining, as it is with me in Worcester. Morning, joining from Gloucestershire, and it is raining. It's definitely going north then. Established that. Who needs the weatherman? Located in Fakenham. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that. I had a bit of drizzle. Lancashire, London. Oh, great! We've got a bit of a
Yeah, very geographical spread.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think what we'll do, Colin, is we will get started because we are. What time are we on? About 3 minutes past. So we'll start, and then obviously we might have some more people join us as we get going. So welcome everybody to our Integrated Management Systems webinar. My name's Jennifer, for anybody that doesn't know me. And I'm going to be your co-host today alongside Colin Watkins. Colin is one of our senior lead assessors at ISO Quality Services. He's got plus 15 years experience in quality, environmental, information security and internal auditing, and quite a bit of experience ex-banking industry as well. So Colin's got a wealth of experience of all different types of businesses, and he's going to be guiding you through the content today and around integrating management systems together and the Annex SL structure. Just a couple of guidelines. I'm sure everybody's used Zoom before, but if you haven't, then I'm pretty sure your microphones are already muted. So then that's probably not going to be too much of an issue. If you have got a question, either pop it in the chat or use the Q&A function, and I will come to that at the end of the session. And yeah, please feel free to use the chat function for any comments, any tips, or to notify us of any important points. If you want to share anything, then please do use the chat function. We like to keep it as interactive as possible. So for anyone that's joining us today who aren't familiar with us, we are a specialist in helping SMEs improve their businesses through the implementation of ISO management standards. So we offer consultancy service, implementation, certification, and training services as well. We're a family-run business, so the pictures there are my mum and dad, my sister and me. But we've also got a wider family, including Colin, that work with us delivering the services to the clients, based both in the office in Worcester, but also, as Colin is one of our assessors, delivering all around the world, really. We're a member of lots of chambers of commerce, but particularly the Hereford and Worcester, and also Circle to Success, for anyone that's familiar with them. Our mission is, or our passion as it were, is to inspire organisational improvement and efficiency by providing unparalleled support, and we allow our customers to put ISO at the heart of what they do. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're bringing a range of these webinars to you, is to be able to provide you with more resources, more knowledge, education on how you can best integrate these systems into each other. So this is for multiple standards. So Colin, I'm going to hand back control to you, and as just a reminder, please do continue to put any comments or anything in the chat. Any questions we'll come to at the end. I'm going to hand over to Colin, and he's going to take you through the rest of the session, and yeah, I will see you all a bit later.
Thanks, Jennifer. And hello everybody, and welcome. And today we're talking about integration of the various standards into your management system to make it work as effectively and as it possibly can. So our aim here is we're looking to understand the structure of Annex SL and how best to apply it on an integrated basis. Yeah, this is our agenda. We'll have a look at the structure itself. We just do a little bit of why it's been established, what it looks like, that's the framework, some of the common standards to which it applies, some technical variations, because there are common areas, but there are also specifics relating to the standard. Some tips then on what areas you can integrate and how you can integrate, and then finalize it with some benefits of integration, and one particular tip which I'm going to share with you as well. Okay, so what's Annex SL? It's a high-level structure which has been developed by ISO, and it provides generic clause titles, text, common terms, and core definitions. The structure applies to the common management systems, which we'll highlight in a moment. And although the technical content within the standards may vary, the framework and structure is the same. So why has Annex SL been developed? The first that it came to my attention was sort of 2013, when the Information Security Standard was revised. And that was the first time that I came across it, but that's not to say it wasn't implemented prior to that. But it's basically designed to streamline the standards and assist in the application of a common approach and framework, either to a certificated management system or if you're looking to achieve certification. Also, through a standardized approach that will greatly assist you if you're looking to take on board or have already on board multi-standards. Through consistency and compatibility within the different standards, there's also harmonization of process, and it gives you the opportunity to remove process duplication. On a summary basis, it'll facilitate both integration of multiple standards, and the main thing is the integration of these standards into your day-to-day business practices. So what's the framework? Annex SL is broken down into 10 clauses. The first is the scope of the standard. This effectively is the scope of the individual standard. It's not the scope of certification or the scope of the management system. It is the scope of that particular standard. To give you an example, 9001, the scope of 9001, which is the quality management standard, is to consistently provide product and services that meet customer, statutory and regulatory requirements, and also enhance customer satisfaction. And you will find that each of the standards, there will be a scope and it'll outline what the outcome of the management system should be. Then clause 2 then is normative references. That's basically what other standards, what other relevant publications have been undertaken to provide some form of input within a particular standard. Terms and definitions, basically, yeah, terms and definitions of the common terms used within each individual standard. And then clause 4, this is the context of the organization. Effectively, what this section, this clause covers and causes you to think about the issues that you're faced with as a business, your interested parties and what their needs and expectations are, what management processes you have in place or going to put in place, and actually the scope of your management system, what's within it. Because it's up to you as an organization what you want to be certificated upon, and you decide the scope as to what you want to include within the management system. And that would be your physical boundaries, the areas, the activities of your business, those that you feel are relevant to certification scope. So yeah, one scope of the standard, normative references, terms and definitions, and the context of the organization. Next clause, clause 5, is leadership. This has been significantly enhanced over the years, and it stresses the importance of the leadership team and their involvement within ISO standards and management systems. And it also indicates specific responsibilities and specific activities that should be undertaken, not necessarily by the leadership team, but perhaps have been delegated to other members of the management team, team leaders, etc. Clause 6 is planning. That's how the management system will achieve its objectives and how the business will deal with risk. Risk has always been within these management systems, but it has become much more highlighted within Annex SL and the current structure and framework. What we're talking about here is business risk and risks to your management system as well. Examples of business risk, your competitors, non-compliance with legislation, technological changes. They're just a few examples. Clause 7, that's support. That's how the operation of the management system will be supported to ensure that it runs efficiently. And within the support section, we're talking about provision of resources. We're talking about how you manage the work environment, what's within your infrastructure, your communication processes, how you manage the competence and awareness requirements of personnel within the organization, sharing of knowledge. So that's a little bit of an indication as to what's within support. Clause 8, operation. This is the one that you'll find that we'll be talking about variations, technical variations between the standards shortly. And this is one of the areas that the technical clauses tend to, or technical variations tend to apply. This is basically operation. It's your day-to-day processes and operations and tracking performance in these areas. Clause 9, performance evaluation. There's no point having a management system unless you evaluate its performance to make sure it's delivering what you as an organization want it to deliver, and also meeting the needs and expectations of your interested parties, and how it actually complies with the requirements of the ISO standard. Clause 10 then is improvement. That's using the results of your performance evaluation to improve your business, your products, and your processes. Okay, so that's the framework. Let's have a little look at what the common standards are. And these are ones, and I'm sure Jennifer would agree, these are the ones that we tend to be asked for the most. So 9001 is the quality management system, 14001 environmental management system, 22301 is business continuity management system, 27001 is information security, and 45001 is occupational health and safety. And through the Annex SL introduction, it's designed very much to integrate these standards within each other, within your management system. Right, if we just have a look at some variations. Now ISO 9001, the quality management, is effectively the core management standard. It offers the basic framework, which all the other standards tend to spur off. But emphasis on quality management is very much around conformity of process, customer satisfaction, controlling the critical areas of the business, continual improvement, and very much around your service delivery to understand and meet customer requirements. Let's have a look at some variations then with regards to the common standards that I mentioned earlier. ISO 14001, the environmental standard. Well, instead of the quality policy, which you would have within 9001, you will have an environmental policy. Remember as well that these policies effectively are high-level strategic policies, which should reflect the intended outcome of your management system. The next point there is aspects and impacts, which is a technical variation. When it comes to the environmental standard, you should conduct an analysis of the aspects of your activities which have an environmental impact. And then following on from that, then you should be looking to put in place controls, measures, targets, objectives, which would be looking to minimize your environmental impact that those activities actually have. EP&R, that's emergency preparedness and response. Within your environmental management system, you should have emergency plans, and those emergency plans should obviously relate specifically to the industry in which you are, within you are. Elements of emergency plans: fire, flood, vandalism, spillage, they're just examples. And just make a highlight, we're talking about integration, and we'll cover this off once again shortly, but obviously emergency planning would also come within your health and safety standard, within your health and safety management system. So you'd be looking to integrate your emergency plans relative to environmental with the emergency plans that you would have within your health and safety management system. So that's one area of integration that we've sort of flagged up pretty early on in this webinar. Compliance and evaluation. You are obliged with environmental. You're actually obliged within 22301. You're obliged within information security and health and safety to know what legislation is applicable to you as an organization. You should understand that legislation, and you should conduct evaluation exercises to ensure that you're meeting your compliance obligations. And once again, compliance and evaluation is common across, well, really all the 5 standards, because within 9001, you should be meeting the regulatory requirements relating to your products and services. And also within 14001, there's incident management. So if you have an environmental incident, how do you report it? How do you record it? How do you assess it? And how do you use it to improve your environmental management system? We're looking at 22301 now, which is business continuity. Once again, you should have a business continuity policy statement, and that policy statement is very much a high-level document, similar to environmental and quality, and it's really the link between top management and the strategic aims and objectives of the organization with relation to business continuity. You should conduct a business impact analysis. Effectively, that's analyzing the effect of disruptions on your business activities and determining priorities which need to be addressed on a prioritized basis. And then linking into the business impact is a risk assessment, and that's the risk of disruptions to those prioritized activities. So business impact and risk assessment, they go hand in glove. Obviously within 22301, it is business continuity. Sure, you should have a business continuity plan, which effectively is a document that's available to all members of staff, available to the emergency team, the critical management team, and it provides strategies and solutions to the various scenarios that you have identified that could affect your business. And very similar, I mentioned about performance evaluation. No point having a business continuity plan unless you know that it'll work. So one of the prime requirements within the ISO 22301 standard is to exercise and test your business continuity plan to evaluate its effectiveness in the case of an emergency or a disruptive event. Also some variations within 27001, some specifics. 27001 is the information security standard. So once again, risk assessment is key. There should be risk assessment of your information assets, determine risks to the confidentiality, availability, and integrity of your information assets. Out of risk assessment, you would create a risk treatment plan as to how you would manage those identified risks. Something, once again, which is particular to 27001 is the statement of applicability. This is a mandatory document. It consists of something like 160 control objectives and controls, which they would expect majority of those would be applicable, and you should be putting those in, and they should be supporting your risk assessment and the control of risks associated with your information assets. And as mentioned with the other two standards, compliance, understanding legislation that's applicable, and managing the compliance aspect, including evaluation. If we look at ISO 45001, there's a header missing off that one. I do apologize, but the next one is the ISO 45001, which is health and safety, included within the which you should include within your management system when it comes to health and safety, which is consultation and participation of workers, so that they have a say in health and safety management. There's hazard identification and its elimination. There's the risk assessment of hazards identified and putting in controls to reduce those risks. Compliance and evaluation, we've talked about that. And obviously accident and incident management, and conducting trend analysis, and looking to put in place following accident, incident, near-miss investigations, looking to improve the way that you manage your processes regarding, say, to risk assessment and controls.
Just while we're there, Colin, I just thought it'd be helpful to share, and you may well go through this, but there are some, I was just popping in the chat, there are some common combinations of standards that we see, particularly 9, 27 and 22, 301, so quality, information security and business continuity. And also similarly with some businesses we'd see a very common combination of 9, 14 and 45,
exactly.
So quality, environmental and health and safety, and that generally depends on the industry that the business is in. So
exactly,
more IT sort of organizations or service sector organizations would probably be down the 9, 27 and 22.
Exactly.
And then your more engineering, construction, manufacturing would more likely be down the 9, 14 and 45. Although saying that, we do have manufacturers that have 27 because they hold technical drawings or technical specifications. So it's just less of a likely combination, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be the next slide, looking at the common areas. This was basically just to highlight the technical variations within the individual standards, so that you were aware that 9001 is the common, and then which everything spurs off, and then these are additional areas that you should be considering within the other common standards that we've talked about. So I suppose really getting on now to the as you quite rightly highlighted, is that the next slide then is talking in terms of the integration process across common standards and how you best can integrate them, which will give you some process efficiencies. So thanks for that, Jennifer. And what we're going to be looking at here now. So you talk in terms of there's integration within certain standards, and there's certain standards that integrate well into each other, and they apply to different industries. And obviously within your industries, you make decisions which standards are applicable. So common activities, what we're looking at here is roles and responsibilities. This is very much within the leadership aspect of the 5 standards. And it should be a situation whereby you would look for a common approach whereby you indicate the roles and responsibilities within your organization and where they sit with regards, obviously, to the different standards that you may well have. But it's all about governance and guidance and examples of roles and responsibilities whereby you can integrate all your standards that you currently have as an organization would be through your organization chart. It would be you could document them within your job specifications. You could document them within your contracts of employment. Your employee handbook. I've seen numerous employee handbooks, and they embrace health and safety. They'll embrace information security. They'll embrace environmental. So your employee handbook could be a core document that would enable integration of roles and responsibilities, guidance and governance within your organization. The concept of risk and opportunity, that's common across the 5 standards. And as I mentioned earlier, this is very much business risk. These standards are risk-based management tools. And out of risk comes opportunity. And as I said, this business risk, examples of business risk, as I mentioned, could be non-compliance, it could be technological changes, it could be competition, etc. And what we would encourage, if you had multiple standards, is to create, say, a risk register. And that risk register would encompass those business risks across all the 4 standards, or all 3 standards or 5 standards, whichever ones you've got. Objectives, once again, objectives, they are common to each of the 5 standards that we talked about. Now, I always recommend that to have what I would say either not generic, but long-term objectives, which you could have, and they could stay with you for almost ever and a day. And then you'd have side by side the more short-term objectives that would relate to situations and issues that were occurring. Now, I talk about long-term objectives. Long-term objectives could be set around competence and awareness. They could be set around compliance, and they could be set around continual improvement. If you went down that path, those common objectives that I just mentioned, competence, compliance, continual improvement, they are requirements within all the 5 standards that we've talked about. So you could create objectives within those particular long-term objectives that would embrace the standards which you have. Supplier evaluation, that's very key within 9001, but supplier evaluation actually does certainly extends into business continuity, because you would want continuity of supply of your suppliers. So if you had 9001 and you had 22301, that supplier evaluation would embrace both standards. Supplier evaluation is very relevant as well to information security. How good is your IT support company? Do you actually know what their business continuity plans are? So supplier evaluation, once again, is critical across the various standards. It includes, once again, health and safety, supplier evaluation. If you're using contractors, are they supplying you with risk assessments and method statements? Are you having copies of their certifications and qualifications, etc.? So once again, supplier evaluation, that can be utilized throughout the different standards that we've been talking about. So once again, it's an activity that can be common and can be conducted within a supplier evaluation process and not be conducted separately for the purpose of, say, information security, business continuity, health and safety. Supplier evaluation also extends to environmental. You might want to work with companies that are environmentally aware. You might want a copy of their environmental policy or environmental programs. And once again, this can be embraced within a common approach to supplier evaluation and not conducted separately. Competence and awareness training, once again, that's common throughout the 5 standards. And your training records, your training needs, your recruitment process, your induction process, that should embrace all the different standards that you as an organization may be certificated to. So competence and awareness is very much a common activity, and it can be spread across the different standards. Your communication processes. Now, once again, communication is relevant across all the standards. You could have a communication document, a communication process that would integrate all the standards that you currently have. So a communication protocol, that would make sense. The work environment. Work environment, once again, is common, and certainly brings into work environment would be the health and safety, would be welfare, social responsibilities within your organization. So work environment, that could embrace the different standards. Your infrastructure, that would include health and safety, it would include HR, it would include IT support. So all these areas that I've mentioned here can be dealt with on an integrated basis and not necessarily on a standalone basis. Some other examples, your internal audit program. Now, internal audit, once again, is common across all the standards. What I would always recommend is that your internal audit schedule should include, if you've got environmental, it should include the controls that are on your aspects and impacts analysis. If you've got information security, it should include the controls within your statement of applicability. If you've got health and safety, it should include the controls within your risk assessment. Business continuity, it should be the controls within your business continuity plans. So effectively, you can have a common approach, an integrated approach to the internal audit process. Your internal audit schedule can embrace the standards that you currently have. And an example of an integrated approach, perhaps say you may conduct a daily walkabout. You may conduct that daily walkabout on a health and safety basis, but you could include within that daily walkabout environmental considerations. You could certainly include within it, if you so wished, information security. So once again, integration of common activities is key to an efficient management system. Your management review meeting. Now, once again, that's common to all the 5 standards. And I would suggest that there's an integrated agenda for your management review meeting. And within that agenda, you can cover off all different, all the relevant points required within the different standards. You can, with the management review meeting, you could adopt a phased approach. It's up to you how often you hold them, but you could have a phased approach and discuss different areas at different management review meetings, and then perhaps have an annual meeting which would cover off every agenda item and every standard that you comply with. So once again, your management review meeting can be conducted on an integrated approach, which would bring integration and to your management system. Feedback, customer feedback, client feedback, feedback from regulatory authorities. Once again, feedback that can be managed on an integrated basis. it's something that is common to all the standards, very similar to compliance. Compliance is common to all the standards, and you could have one legislative regulatory register which would cover off all your standards, and your evaluation could be conducted on a periodic basis, once again bringing in process efficiency. The concept of non-conformance, you could view that on an integrated basis, i.e. you could have within non-conformance, your accident, incident, near-miss reports. You could have your environmental incidents within non-conformance. You could have security incidents within non-conformance. You could have security breaches within your non-conformance process. What you're looking for, as we know, within non-conformance is trend analysis. You might want to segment the different areas of non-conformance to enable effective trend analysis to be conducted. But non-conformance can be used to embrace all areas of your management system, all areas of the standards that you comply with in one particular process. The concept of improvement, once again, that is common, and you're looking at non-conformance. That will lead you to improvement. Internal audit will lead you to improvement. So if you embrace an integrated approach, that will give you an integrated improvement opportunity for your management system. Let's have a look at some. So those are the common activities that can be integrated within an integrated management system, and these are the benefits of integration. Well, obviously, they enhance efficiency. It can certainly reduce process duplication, and I quite often think in terms of one activity will lead you to another activity, and you don't want to do something if you have quality, if you have environmental. Look for a process approach that integrates the different standards together, and look to reduce duplication. So yeah, benefits of integration: enhance efficiency. Integration, it supports routine activities. One concept there that I would say is that when you're looking at these integrated standards, that you're conducting activities for the benefit of the business. You don't want to be a slave to the standard. You need, obviously, to affect compliance, but at the same time, you're carrying activities out that will benefit the business. Integration, it will certainly facilitate the addition of additional standards. My recommendation would always be that you would look to put in place the quality management system first, because everything spurs off quality management, and it would simplify the certification process to bring on board additional standards. So yeah, it certainly facilitates addition of additional standards, simplifies certification. Benefits of integration, certainly facilitates the integration of standards into business practices. And as I said, really, you don't want to be a slave to the standard. You're looking to benefit the business by incorporating and integrating the different standards into one integrated and effectively one management system. What my top tip really is that if you were looking for certification, I would say that you do the quality management standard first. Effectively, it is a core management system. Everything spurs off the 9001 quality standard. It does provide an effective framework, and it certainly facilitates the additional standards if you're looking to bring on, once you've got the framework in place, the additional standards slot in much more easily and give you a much more integrated approach to managing your business. Now, that's basically all I wanted to talk about with regards to integrated management. And really, it's a case now of questions, and I'll hand you across to Jennifer.
Lovely, thanks Colin. Yeah, really informative, as I'm sure everyone will agree. So if you have got any questions, pop them in the chat. I've actually got a question for you, Colin, which I think might be worth us covering. And it's around, do integrated management systems work better in SME businesses where there may be one or two people responsible for the management systems over larger organisations who have whole teams and departments who maybe, you know, one team look after 27001, another team look after 9001?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a challenge. When you've got, depends on the size. I think obviously a smaller business would certainly benefit from, you know, an integrated approach with a small management team. But larger organizations, they are going to be much more specific, aren't they? They're going to be much more departmental orientated. It's up, but you also, what you really need is a pyramid, don't you? Whereby you're all working towards the common good. So at some stage, you should have it be an integrated, perhaps possibly an integrated management review meeting, whereby you would get all members of the organization, the team leaders relating to the, say, the different standards that you have, so that you can have an integrated management review meeting, whereby you can understand each other's issues. You can look for integration areas, and try and remove duplication. So I think it's very much dependent on the size of the organization, but certainly you need to bring all the different standards together because there are common activities.
Yeah, and I think
that's the saving, isn't it?
I think I'm having a bit of feedback when I speak. Sorry about that. So another question that we've had, sorry, just to go back to that, actually, what Colin just said, I think that does then support that whole tip of having 9001 because of those common approaches. So, so yes, integration can be across SMEs and larger organisations. Obviously, it works differently when you have more people involved in the process. So we have another question. So can this integration approach be taken right from the outset if a business is keen to implement, say, 3 standards at once, rather than 9001 followed by other standards at a later date? So yeah, can integration happen from the beginning, or do they have to put 9 in first before they follow with multiple other standards?
Well, the easy answer is that by doing it on a stage basis, so doing 1 standard at a time gives you the opportunity to bed in that particular standard. But having said that, there's no reason why, and we quite often, Jennifer, don't we see customers taking on 2 and 3 standards. I think the important thing is when you're taking on the 3 standards is certainly when you get the assessor that comes in to certainly help you with the concept of integration, looking at the common areas, bringing in personnel from the common areas, and but looking once again not to duplicate. And that's and use your assessor, you know, to point you in the right direction. You know, do you need? You know, there are common areas of each standard, and you want to use those common areas to the best of their ability to you know, to rationalize your management system and to avoid duplication. The concept of like context, you know, that's common across all the standards. The leadership side of things is common across all standards. The main variation is within the clause 8, which is you know, your process performance. But really, you do want to adopt an integrated approach to cut down on the work, to have a much more deliverable management system. But you need to, once again, what you would do is bring in a quality manager or a management team that would cover off the different areas of their expertise. But certainly, I would be saying to you that if you were looking to do 3 standards or something like that, certainly an integrated approach that would remove the duplication. Might take a little bit longer to get in place, a little bit longer to understand. But there are benefits in taking on 2 or 3 at the same time, because you can get that integrated approach firmly and solidly in your mind and develop it throughout the business.
Absolutely. Thank you, Colin. I just want to also kind of point out that I would always say that no more than 4 standards at once. Some people come to us and try and have 4 to 5 standards, but actually I would say that you probably do want to stage it in that respect. So 3 is probably the most that we would recommend at this point in time. Okay, so is there any other questions from anybody? I'll give people another couple of minutes if that's okay. While you're kind of thinking if there are any other questions, I mean, please feel free to email them over to us, of course, if you think of anything afterwards. The other kind of point I'd like to just make about the top tip there about having the quality management first, it's also the most commonly requested from clients or tenders as well. So that's another reason why 9001 seems to kind of be implemented first into organisations. Although, you know, saying that, I was speaking to a company yesterday that were looking solely at 27001. So it's all doable. It's just actually the most logical route forward is with the 9001 because of the points Colin's mentioned.
Just to interrupt there, Jen, if you don't mind, if you did, just going down that 27,000 route, you will have to put a lot of the quality management systems in place anyway. So sometimes it might well be more cost effective to dovetail the 2 together. I know we're not here to market from a marketing point of view, but certainly most certainly providers such as ourselves would possibly offer some form of discount if you were doing 2 standards. As I said, I'm not looking to sales and market here, but there is sense sometimes to do 2 standards together and integrate them at the same time, because potentially there could well be a cost benefit as well. But,
absolutely, and that kind of brings me on to another point that I wanted to make, which is if you weren't already aware that a lot of the implementation fees time costs that it costs you as businesses to put in, regardless of utilising a consultancy, is that there's R&D tax relief schemes available that would be potentially able for to give you the ability to claim some of that money back. So that's worth looking into. If your business does or doesn't already claim R&D tax relief, it's definitely worth looking into how your time spent on process re-engineering as a project, which is what obviously all of this is, how that can be claimed back and actually give you quite a hefty financial benefit back. Okay, we have another question actually. So how does an integrated scope work?
It's an interesting one. Integrated scope.
Integrated scope.
Yeah, I think really, I mean, the scope is only the scope of your management system. So basically, what you would do, and we'd help you with it as well if you're one of our clients and you were going for the initial assessment. But the integrated scope would just be bringing together the different standards. So for argument's sake, thinking in terms of you've got quality. So part and parcel of your quality is going to be your, obviously your processes, your products, etc. If you're bringing in environmental standard, what you'd be incorporating would be the likes of your aspects and impacts analysis, your compliance, that type of thing. So really, you just be extending it. If you're bringing in information security, you be bringing in the scope, the concept of risk assessment, the concept of statement of applicability, controls and objectives. If you were bringing in health and safety, you'd extend your scope to include hazard identification, risk assessment. So all you would do is basically extend off, once again, the 9001, the common standard, everything spurs off it. So you start off with your 9001 scope, and then you build into it the different requirements within the additional standards. And that really is, that's my understanding anyway. And that would be something that if you were with us, that's what we do with our customers. We help them to develop the scope to embrace the standards with which they subscribe to.
Okay, so I think, oh, I've got a bit of echo on there, Colin. I might just ask you to mute if that's okay.
I'll mute.
So I think that kind of looks like the end of the questions there. Obviously, you know, if you do want to get in contact with us, or if you've got any questions, or if you are an existing client of ours, then you know where we are if you've got any questions about this further. Yeah, as I said before, we will be making this recording available as well as the slides. So for everybody that's registered and attended today, we'll be getting that out to you in the next few days. Our next webinar is going to be in November. We haven't got an exact date yet, but we will let you know. And that's actually going to be around the supplier management and supplier evaluation and supply chain management, and we're going to be kind of just exploring all the different kind of elements there that you can make improvements. So please keep an eye out for that. As I said, it's going to be in November at some time. We're just trying to finalize a date at the moment. We will pop it on all of our social media, and we will also pop it out to you on email as well if you've attended today. So I think that draws us to a close. I'd like to thank Colin for his time today and to popping together a very comprehensive webinar for us. I'd like to thank everybody for your questions and for your attendance today, and we hope to see you on the next one soon.